willen natuurkundigen de toekomst kunnen voorspellen. Dat is de basis van de hele natuurkunde.
Together with the Student Union and with the Student Association Paradox and with the Well-Being Weeks of the University of Twente. If you want to ask a question to our speaker, please ask it in the chat. You can find it if you watch our live stream. And I will try to ask the question to Christina. Dr. Christina Bode, you are health psychologist, associate professor at the University of Twente, and you are the director of the Self-Management and Health Assessment Lab of the University of Twente. I give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. So today I will tell you something about vitality, but before I start telling you something, I would like to ask you, imagine a person you feel this person is very vital. Which attributes in which attributes would you describe this person? Take a moment to think about it before I tell you something about vitality. So do you have someone in mind? Then we can start. So what is vitality? Vitality can be explained in terms of energy, motivation, and resilience. But today I will focus on energy because I think this is a very important part. And if we talk about energy, think about feeling alive, looking forward to every new day, feeling awake and alert, feeling that your battery is 400% charged. This feels good, right? And as Siska said already, in vitality there are both aspects, the mental fitness but also the physical fitness. And often we look only at one side, or at the mental side, or at the physical dimension. And I would like to argue today that it's very important to look at both sides, at the mental side and also the physical side, because they interact with each other and they make what vitality is. So I'm very interested in that because I prefer the holistic perspective to health and well-being. And I would also share with you some ideas about human potential and also a bit about the life course. Perhaps we first have to see why vitality is so attractive. And therefore I take with me some photos from the setting of politics. If we start with Mark Rutten, there you see Mark Rutten in very good mood, in positive mood. So here you see the mental strengths, this emotion regulation aspect. And next to it, you see the Mark Rutten on the bicycle. So here the physical strengths, the physical fitness is emphasized. And this is how this politicians is mainly shown in the media, right? So here you also see the balance between the mental fitness and the physical fitness. And in the last week, we see that this good-humored Rutten is a bit decreased. And so we see so much more photos and pictures from him on a bicycle to balance this out. Take the second example I take with me, Sigrid Kaag. She made a sort of iconic jump on the table, right? You saw it in all journals and newspapers. And here you see the physical strength, how she is illustrated and shown. But also on the left side, you see her as a negotiating person in very difficult situations where the mental strength is necessary to do these and to manage these situations. So also here with this successful leader, you have this mental strength and also the physical strength, and both make together vitality. The last pictures I brought with me, Annalena Baerbock, and she is a starting person or a very important person at the moment in Germany. And when she were asked whether she is able to be the next chancellor, she answered with a yes on her hands. Do you see this? And this is extremely physical, vital. And also here, also she is shown in a mental vital sense, because she discussed with her colleagues who should be the party leader. And they did it in a very harmonious way, which also shows mental strength. So all three very popular persons in politics at the moment, you can see that vitality is attractive, and both sides, the mental side and also the physical side, are displayed here. We will talk about ways to improve vitality, but also here I have some questions for you. Do you work on your vitality? If you do, how do you work on your vitality? And did you have attention to balance your activities regarding mental and physical aspects of vitality? But you always have also situations where vitality is threatened. And what we will discuss today is when vitality is threatened by fatigue, by pain, and by sedentary behavior. Of course, there are more threats, but there's too much to discuss today. So I look into the vitality of people, mainly of people with health problems, as you see here, and sometimes also in healthy people. And all these projects, I have groups to collaborate with. There are many collaborators I'm very thankful for to work with them together. And at the end, I will have a list to show all these collaborators in the projects I will discuss with you. So then I do not have to name all the people all the time, because it costs so much time, because there are big groups. So, but of course, research is never done alone. Let us go to fatigue as a threat to vitality. I think you heard often, everybody is tired from time to time, yes? You heard it already. And what does it say? It's a usual thing. It's not a big business, right? And in fact, fatigue is also a healthy signal of the organism. And the organism gives you the message: pace your activities, take time, and relax. So it is a very, very good adaptive response of our system. Point is that we can identify causes of fatigue. For example, you can have had a party yesterday evening, or perhaps you have some sorrows and did not sleep well, but you can identify where the causes of fatigue comes from. And you also know how to recover. For example, to sleep, to slow down a bit, to relax, and to reach your usual levels of vitality. In the lifespan and also in specific situations, we have situations where you can expect extraordinary levels of fatigue. So for example, during pregnancy or menstruation, or in specific life phases. Adolescence is such a typical life phase, and also menopause. And we do not think that this is pathological, since the usual levels of vitality can be reached again after passing these phases. But let's go back to everybody is tired from time to time. Is this also really true for everybody? If we look into somatic chronic conditions such as arthritis, cancer, MS, COPD, or other somatic diseases, most of these patients report elevated levels of fatigue. And then it is not true for them that everybody is tired from time to time and can easily recover. But how can we distinguish this normal and this chronic fatigue? If we talk about chronic fatigue, then the quality of life is permanently decreased. And you need permanent adaptation of your life, and possibly also your life goals. Think about that perhaps you have to stop your work. And the usual levels of vitality are out of reach for these people. Also here we can distinguish different aspects: physical aspect, emotional aspect, and also cognitive aspect. And can you see here similarity with what we said about vitality already? Do we know something about the causes of chronic fatigue? We know a bit about this, and for different diseases this is different. But what we can say is that in all diseases, the biological markers or other characteristics that give us an indication about the severity of the disease cannot explain these chronic fatigue levels. And that means that psychological explanations and interventions are needed here. So what do we do with chronic fatigue to help people to get more vital? Most of the therapies start with this, with a cognitive triangle. They assume that what you think also influences your feelings and your behavior. And cognitive behavioral therapy is best researched and investigated for the treatment of chronic fatigue and help people to get more vital again. We also work on different projects. So, for example, with University Medical Center in Amsterdam, we work on an e-health intervention for people with visual impairment and blindness. And also with the Isala clinics, we look into stepped care for people with acquired brain injury and how we can help them to manage their fatigue. And in the partner project, we look more in the personalization and how we can balance treatment in a care platform and to find for everybody the best solution. And what we see here is that all these projects are about the more reflective aspects. So they are about goal setting, how can you plan your day, how can you monitor your symptoms and find the best spot to intervene. But I would like to draw your attention to another point. So here we have this dual process model, and on the right side you see this reflective system. That is the system where we think about what is the cause of fatigue or vitality, and where can we set goals, and where can we motivate ourselves, where can we monitor ourselves. But our behavior and our actions are also influenced by another system, and that is the impulsive system. This is a very quick system. It's about associations you build, and it is about habits and automatic reactions. And what we do at the moment mostly, if we want to improve vitality or decrease chronic fatigue, we look at the right side, at the reflective system. But in 2 projects, we try to formalize this also for the more impulsive system, whether we can also there intervene. And you might imagine that if you are fatigued, you have your self-concept, you think about your illness, and you have your ideas about your fatigue. And it can be that this fatigue comes into your self-concept, and that you feel that you are a person with low energy. But this might be more an association than it is in reality. And this is something that we call a cognitive bias. So you make associations between things that are in a way a bias and not reflecting reality. And these automatic processes can influence your behavior. And thus, if this is unbeneficial, it comes to more fatigue. So what we thought is perhaps we can intervene in these cognitive biases. And with these projects, we retrain fatigue and vitality self-concept associations, and we try to build a buffer against the development of these cognitive biases. So what we try to do, is what you see in green here, that we pair vitality more with your self-concept, and we try to limit and weaken the connection between fatigue and your idea about yourself. And we do this by training vitality words and making associations between vitality words and I words, and fatigue words with other words. So vitality belongs to me, and fatigue belongs not to me. And on the right side here, you see what you have to do. So it is in Dutch, but you see that if you pair the right pair, it is I and vitality words, then this reaction is correct. And so we train the association between you and the vitality. And on the left side, you see that the red line, these people follow this training. And their cognitive bias changed during the training. Whereas the people from the control group who didn't have the training, they do not change. So this cognitive bias do not change over time. Here is another project. This was the Ivy project. This is a Vital Me project. And here you also see how we do it. The first one was on an app. Here you see it on a computer. And also here we try to strengthen the vitality corresponding reactions and weaken the fatigue corresponding reactions. But perhaps you ask yourself, what do people think about it? Because they are so used to other ways of intervening, more this reflective side and not this impulsive system, right? And we ask people with breast cancer and also with kidney disease what they think about it. And overall, we get very positive reactions. They think, it's a bit unusual, but it is easy to use, right? It is difficult for them to imagine how this can work, that this pairing of an association can help you to diminish your cognitive bias. And you see that is very simple, and it's a very simple intervention, but it also, and this is attractive, but it also has a very repetitive character. And so thereby, there's also a point of critics, and therefore I pointed here in my dia a plus and a min. And in the next versions of our application, we will take this into account. So we will try to explain a bit better how this can work, and that just the repetition makes it easier to habituize, to automate the reactions. So we go on with this because we feel that this is a very good combination with other interventions that takes long time, needs more effort. And so we can combine this easy intervention where the associations are more combined with a broader, perhaps also deeper interventions. I said that I want to discuss also another threat to vitality, pain. And here I would like to introduce you to another intervention, and that is using your personal strengths to deal with chronic pain. And if you activate the personal strengths you feel, you can see here a lot of working mechanisms. It might increase your motivation, but it also increases positive emotions, and you see a lot more of that. But the most important thing is that all these working mechanisms, the positive self-relevant information is activated. And this, I think, is especially important in the context of chronic disease, because sometimes the positive outlook on the self are under pressure in the role as patient. So what we did here, we used the Strengthsfinder, and this is developed in Norway. A research group working with chronic pain patients there find out that these strengths, these personal strengths, are especially feasible for people with chronic pain. So you can think about personal attributes. I like to try out or learn new things. I'm aware of my body and mind. Or meaningful engagement. I prioritize what is important for me. I'm grateful for the good in my life. But you can also think about external strengths. I have people who understand me. I live in a safe environment. But also self-management strengths. I seek the knowledge I need, and I know how to handle stress, for example. Can you imagine that if we activate these personal strengths, that it might help for having chronic pain and to be more vital? So we tried this out. So we have 4 physiotherapy practices, and in the first group, we invited people to identify their strengths from the list of these 42 attributes. Only saying, okay, this is true for me, or this is not true for me. And in the second group, we not only let them identify their personal strengths, but also use their strengths. So they had to make their top 5 strengths and to use it in the next 2 weeks. And what we wanted to know is whether we can see changes in positive or negative mood directly after the intervention, and 2 weeks later, differences in pain intensity and pain interference. Can you imagine that only thinking about what your personal strengths are might make that you can cope better with your chronic pain? Or that your mood changes? These are the first results. And here you see that the expected effect on positive effect we do not see, but we see a huge effect on negative effect. So negative effect, negative mood, decreases. And also, 2 weeks later, we see an effect on pain interference. So how much this pain influences your daily life. And this was a relatively small group, and we definitely have to try it again and to see in other populations whether it works so well. But these are very nice signals that with using your personal strengths, you can be more vital, although you might have problems with chronic pain. Another thing what we are trying at the moment is using virtual reality, because this can immerse you. And here we try to immerse people in their nervous system and let them go through their nervous system by this application Reducept and learn about how chronic pain develops, and also how chronic pain can be controlled by yourself. So we started with MST to look whether people with rheumatoid arthritis and chronic pain, whether they like it, or whether we can see side effects that we do not want to have. And we want to see whether there are some first indications of effects. Later on, we dream that we can use virtual reality, for example, also in people at home. And perhaps it might have an additional or even a better effect than medication. But this is something we try out at the moment. Then we come to the last part, the last threat to vitality, sedentary behavior. That means that you do not move enough. And I say very explicitly not exercise, so I'm not talking about sports, but I'm talking about moving. And I would like to focus on occupational sitting, because for all of those who are working, many of us sit the whole day, right? And perhaps it is not so known, and therefore I put it also in my presentation. Did you know that if you sit too much, that nearly all of your organs do not like that? Here you can see that it does something with your brain, with your neck and shoulder. Perhaps that is what you would have expected the most. But also with your heart. And also leg problems can occur. So what we say at the moment that you know this perhaps. Sitting is the new smoking. And for the people from the University of Twente, I have some results. This is from you. Because we did a study at the University of Twente when the home office regulation started. And we looked into how people work at home and how much they sit at home. What do you think? How many hours per day do you sit? Do you have an idea how many hours you sit?
A lot, I assume. Yes, I think on a normal working day, 6 hours at least. Yeah. And I use my phone a lot, so I can walk around and
that's a very good
and
thing.
Speak with people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we measured this. And what you see here, that these participants say that in the hours they are awake, they are over 11 hours sitting of the hours they are awake. And while working from home, they sit over 7 hours. That's a lot. And we also ask whether this changed during the home office compared to working on the campus. And here in this graph you see that all types of staff, so we ask academic staff, PhD students, and also support and management staff, all groups say that they sit much more or somewhat more compared to working on the campus. And in the group of support and management staff, this is even more pronounced, this effect. So we sit a lot already, and in our home office situation, we sit a lot more. And we also ask, what are the facilitators and barriers to work more vital? And what we see here is that one important thing is equipment and furniture, because if you do not have the good office equipment, it is not so easy to work in a healthy and vital way from home, right? But we also have seen that support for behavior change is important. So what I mean with agenda setting is that it is discussed, that you discuss it with colleagues, that you discuss it in your family. And you know that many people are walking around on the campus at lunchtime, right? You see them through the windows. But now in home office, I think that people do not do this because they have to do it alone. It's not so nice, perhaps. But there is also something that it is not so on the agenda if you work from home, right? And perhaps there's also some information missing. How can I work very vital by changing posture, for example? And also we are, I said it already, we are habitual people. So also reminders, we need really reminders to think about it and not only sit and sit and sit and sit and sit and do not stand up for a while. But what we also saw in our survey was that people from the university reported that the work pressure is much higher under COVID home regulations, and that it seems a bit stupid, but we are a bit stupid. So if the pressure is higher, then we sit and stay sitting and do not think that we have to take a break, for example, or go outside. And so work pressure is also a very important barrier to working vital from home. In fact, it is very simple. It is no rocket science. You can try to minimize the amount of time spent in prolonged sitting. And that means simply break up long periods of sitting as often as possible. And break up means each 20 to 30 minutes. That would be a good way to do it. And perhaps you can also organize the furniture like that you sometimes can stay when you work and not only sit when you work. But it's not so easy to do this at home. And the campus, we can organize this a bit better, but also at home you can do this. So what you said already, walking while you're on the phone, right? And also you can also put some elevated things on your table and to put your laptop on it. If you have meetings, for example, it's not so nice to type then, but in meetings it is easy to do it like this.
I do. I use several boxes in which we buy wine bottles, and I stack them on top of each other, so I can make it a little bit higher. Yeah. And then I can stand. Yeah. Yeah. And physical vitality is definitely improved by changing your posture. Every 30 minutes, perhaps. Okay. It's much, I know. So I come back to your own vitality, you as listeners. Perhaps you have get some new ideas, some more knowledge, and perhaps you think, okay, this combination of mental fitness and physical fitness, that is something I would like to strive for. And I would like to thank all people I collaborate in all the discussed projects. So happy to be with them. And thank you for this good collaboration to all of you.
And I'm at the end of my talk now, and perhaps there are some questions, or you have some questions, Hiska.
Thank you very much, Christina. I'm going to stand right now because I have been sitting far too long and I heard that's very bad. So I'm going to change my posture. Yes, I received several questions in the chat. Thank you. But I have also my own questions. You told us about the study that we don't move enough, and that at the University of Twente, students and staff working at home. What do you do to change your posture from time to time? Because if you are very busy with something, you sometimes need to work for 2 or 3 hours. Or do you have another thought about it?
Yeah. Here on the campus, in my workspace, I have a lower table to type, and if I have meetings, I have a higher table to stand with the people who visit me, and for students or colleagues. And so this means if I'm here, I change a lot during the day.
Yes.
Only in my office.
Yes.
And when this home office regulation started, after 2 weeks, I felt so bad that I bought for myself a table that I can move higher and lower, because I really felt that there is a difference between when working in this office on campus. And so this is the first answer. I change my table.
Yes.
I do not change it every 20 minutes, I have to admit.
Okay.
But when I sit, then I have different chairs. So I have one normal chair, working chair, let's say, but I have also a thing, I do not know the English word, krukje.
Krukje.
A chair without without a back.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And so that means that I have to sit more active.
Okay, yes.
I have to sit more like this.
Yes.
And not like this.
And do you also take strolls, or do you take some drinks every half hour? So you have to walk to the kitchen and to take a glass? And okay.
Definitely that. And there is another aspect of that, because if you drink a lot of water, you have to go to the toilet, and so you move also.
Okay. That's a practical one, yes.
And what is so different at home is that if we are here, then we walk a lot. We walk a lot to other places, other buildings where we have to meet colleagues, or we have to lecture.
Yes, because we are lucky, we are on campus, so all the buildings are scattered in the landscape, so you have to walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if you want to go to the copy machine, for example, you have to walk. But at home, all is on a small space. And so that means that it's even more difficult to do it good, in a way.
Yes.
But I think these are some advices. And I also have colleagues, they really use reminders. So they use apps to remind them to change their posture.
Okay. About the app, because you told us about the cognitive bias and the app you use for people with breast cancer, to make other associations between themselves, the I, and the other, and that you have words like vital or energetic, and you can swipe them either to
yourself,
to yourself, or to the other. And you showed us that it works. Do you also use this app for other patients or for healthy people who don't have a disease?
Yeah, we have 2 projects, the Ivy project and the Vital Me project.
Yes.
So one is for breast cancer patients, and the other is developed for kidney patients, pre-dialysis or dialysis patients.
Yes.
And there we use these in pilot phases at this moment. But there is no reason to think that we cannot use it for other diseases or for healthy people, because the systematic is always the same.
Yes, yes. But it looks so simple, and still it works. Because when you told us about it, I was thinking, this is too simple.
Yeah.
This is for little children. I am vital and you are. But it works.
Yeah.
Because it's
It
In
makes new
another-
associations in
yes.
your mind.
Okay.
And in fact, it gives attention to the positive words of vitality in combination with yourself. It is not something that happens there, but it is in combination with yourself.
Yes.
And in fact, this is more on the automatic side. But if you see the positive strengths and the personal strengths, then you see that it's the same system or the same mechanism, because it makes you alert of the positive things of yourself.
Yes.
And with this personal strengths, we make it in a reflective way, because people have to read and to think about it and to look what is true for them, right? And there you see this slow reflective mechanisms. And with this swipe mechanisms, we do it very, very, very quickly,
Yes.
without thinking.
Yes.
And this is also the magic behind it, that it is without thinking. Yet you can do it without thinking.
Oh, yes.
And
Yes,
perhaps
that's
you
a bit difficult for persons who are trained to think.
Yeah.
Persons working or
Yeah.
studying at University of Twente.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah. Yeah, you can think about how many of your reactions and also your perceptions are driven by automatic impulses.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. And if we try to change behavior, then we do not make use of this mechanism. And so we try to make use of this mechanism.
Okay.
And I think that in the end, if we precisely know how to use it, in which groups, in which intensity, for example, with which words, then it is also a possibility to combine it with these more slower, reflective, more conscious interventions.
Yes.
And perhaps then we are stronger in the combination of both systems.
Okay. I'm going to the chat because I received several questions moderated by my colleague Peter. To start with the first one, and then I have to swipe to the bottom. Oh yes, I already asked this, so I go to this one. Recently, a few weeks ago, we had a lecture on migraine, so severe headache, which showed that sudden relaxation can cause migraine. So if you work in a normal way and then you have holiday, then suddenly the migraine can come. How to relax, that's the question, in a more gradual or wise way. Do you have a solution?
I think the solution for that is do not have this black-white, but integrate it better in your daily life. Because I think this rebound effect that you talk about with migraine, I'm not very sure about it, but I think it is because this change of the situation from very stressed to very relaxed. And I would think integrate it better and to have it more in balance.
Okay, so take a little short holidays during your working day, 10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, I understand.
And you can also combine this by, for example, having some walks for 10 minutes, right?
Yes.
And then you do not sit so much.
No. Another question I read in the chat, a person who asks, how important is good sleep?
Very important. Very important. So I didn't have the time to discuss all factors, but good sleep is a very important thing. And so sleep hygiene is relatively easy. One of the most important things is with our telephones now, our smartphones, do not use it 2 hours before you go to sleep, because with this blue light you get into, your whole system is awake. Hello, I'm awake.
Yes,
and then
I want your attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it's not so easy to sleep. So this is one advice, I think. So do not use your telephone directly before you go to sleep.
Okay.
But do some resting activities and read a book or
Take a
relax a
stroll.
bit. Yeah,
Yes.
listen some music, for example.
Okay.
So allow your system to cool down and to move to bed. And also, one other advice for sleep hygiene is do not have too warm rooms. So have it a bit cooler, fresh air,
Okay. Thank you.
something like that.
Another question, and I was wondering why you didn't mention it, because if I think about vitality,
Mhm.
I think about the mental part and the physical part. I also think about good food.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit on good food?
Yeah, I'm not an expert on good food, but I would say definitely that is also a part of a very important factor for vitality.
Mm-hmm.
And what is good food? I think that I would like to leave to the expert of that, because I think also in the expert group there's a high discussion about what is good food.
Mm-hmm.
But I think perhaps we can all agree that having too much sugar is not good,
Yes.
because then you get this.
I can also refer to a Studium Generale. You can find it on our website about good food. Just look at it and you will find some wise words. You showed Rutten.
Yeah.
Sigrid Kaag
Yeah.
and the Dutch politician. And I was wondering, do you always look at the media or in newspapers and thinking about the photos you see? Because you told about Rutte, he's now portrayed many times on his bicycle to show his physical strength and his vitality. But can you read the paper or can you look at the television without thinking those thoughts?
Yes, I can do this.
Okay.
Definitely. But
Okay.
when I prepared this this talk,
Yes.
in these days, I have a sort of focus.
Okay.
And then I
Yes.
see it. And I also saw this standing on her hands with this yes.
Yes.
And that I found such a good picture. And I saw it I think, in every newspaper. And I thought, okay, this is strategy.
Yes.
This
yes.
is strategy. And this perfectly meets this idea about vitality.
Okay. Your whole lecture and all the things you say right now stresses the importance of mental health and mental fitness. Do you think in our Dutch healthcare system there is enough attention for this mental part of our fitness, of our health?
I think I would answer it like this, that I think we can have more attention for prevention.
Okay.
And that, of
We
course...
are too late.
I think it is not typical for the Dutch system. It is typical for all healthcare systems in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because the target of healthcare systems is to help people who have a disease or have symptoms and are suffering. And so I think prevention do not have a real proper place.
Mm-hmm.
And it improves a bit, but I think if we want to really support our health, then prevention is a very important thing. And this is true for the mental side, but also for the physical side. In the physical side, we have some institutions that do this. So all sports institutions, for example. And at school, you have sports and gym, right? And so I think there is more needed on the mental side, definitely. But I would first answer, please have more attention for prevention on both sides. And I think the mental side can be emphasized a lot.
Okay. Do you also think this is the truth for the University of Twente? Does the University of Twente puts enough emphasis on prevention? Because you were showing us those pictures of sitting people and the effects on their body. but I never read in any email of the University of Twente anything about my sitting behavior.
Yeah, yeah. If you had in the beginning, you had this little invitation from this week, from this well-being
Yes,
week,
yes,
right?
yes, this one.
And so I think this is a good step to go into the preventive direction.
Okay.
And also to stress the mental health side more, the mental vitality side more, right?
Yes,
So I was very happy with that.
yes.
And
It's not 1 week, those are 5 weeks.
Yeah.
In former times, before pre-corona, it was just 1
Yeah.
week. Now it's 5 weeks.
Mhm.
And the word mental is used twice, I think.
Mhm.
Yes.
So I see that there is progression. So I think we can go further with this, but
Yes.
I think there are steps made. And with this furniture, this also asks for a lot of investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if we all ask for more investments in this occupational sitting aspect, then things will go into movement.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
And for the home situation, this is a bit difficult, I think. So perhaps this is a bit too much to ask for everybody having an elevated standing desk, for example. So I think the time that we work in home office, perhaps we can be inventive.
Yes, because I think a lot of people have to build an extra room to their house to make a proper home office.
Yeah,
Because I normally, my husband also works at home, so he is in the study and I'm in the sitting
Yeah.
room, just with the normal furniture.
Yeah.
So you can't put an office bureau in that sitting room,
yeah,
because then there is no barrier between home and
Yeah.
work.
yeah. And even with younger colleagues who are living in an apartment with one room, they definitely go from bed to their sitting desk where they eat and work. And so perhaps we have a bit more space to decide whether we go into the sitting room or to the kitchen or like that.
A lot of students work like that.
Yeah,
They come out of bed, they walk 3 steps,
yeah,
go behind their desk,
yeah.
work, and go back to the
Yeah.
kitchen or
Yeah.
to their bed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I hope that we this evening have a bit more conscious building about this, that you can do a lot for yourself. So it is easier if you have proper furniture. So I would definitely vote for that. But if you do not have it, you can do a lot of. So
Yes.
posture change is also possible if you do not have the proper furniture. But that would be definitely the best way.
One thing my husband and I invented as a new ritual in this time working at home. Sometimes days look a little bit like the other day and the day and tomorrow. So every evening we think about something which made us happy.
Yeah.
During the day.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a good suggestion for everybody?
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion.
Okay.
So that we know also that thinking at the end of the day of the good things that happened
Yes.
that day works very well for your mood, for your well-being, but also for your sense in life, your meaning in life.
Okay. Well, a good tip for everybody who is watching. I see another question. Some people are more vital than others. Mark Rutte and the other name versus Theo Hiddema. Oh, he doesn't look vital, according to this person. How big is the influence of genetics? Are we born as vital people, or what's the meaning of our genes?
Yeah, I think they do a lot.
Yes.
But what we all knew from genetic information, that it is never deterministic. So it might be that I am a bit disadvantaged and you are a bit advantaged. But although I can, if I'm conscious about that, perhaps I have to work a bit harder to be more vital.
Yes.
And for you, it is more present in a way.
Yes.
So that you also see how the bodies of people are and how easy they are in sports, and also with this mental fitness, how easy they can relax, for example, or meditate or something like that. So I would say there is an influence to that, of course, but it is never for 100%. So
Okay.
it is
There's
always
hope.
definitely there is definitely hope,
Okay.
and that you can see that people can change, right?
Yes.
That you thought, okay, they are a bit a couch potato in a way,
Yes.
and sometimes they change and they develop very, very beneficial attitudes and behaviors.
I know some people who got a burnout or a depression, and that's horrible. That's a disaster in their life. But if you look at these same people, it was also a blessing in disguise, because now they know they have to relax from time to time, that not everything is important, that you can forget about some things, and that other things prioritize, that other things are important, and that you can put your energy in that. I was thinking about something you said in a video. I think it was during the opening of the academic year. Not last year, but the year before, or was it last year? Last year, yes. And I quote, "The more passionate you are about your work or study, the better your mental health." But how do you find out what's your passion?
Yeah, I said it because I was asked, how can we work in this situation of COVID?
Yes.
And I observed in myself, but also in others, that what you also described, that the days are so similar. And there are not these ups and downs.
Yes.
So it is more like this. And so therefore and that people feel so stressed, because teaching has to change to online teaching, and that was in the days that we worked very hard on that. I think now we are a bit used to it, but this was in this change period. And so people often said that they do not know why they do this work. And then my answer was, please go back and try to find out why you are passionate about your work. Because you are, because that is why you are here.
Yes.
And perhaps at this moment in this crisis situation, you might have forgotten it, or you have to work so hard that you have no energy left to remember.
Yes.
But please go back and think about what I wanted to achieve in a way. Why I am so passionate? Do I want to find a solution for something, or do I want to teach people, or do I want to comfort people in a way, right?
Yes, yes.
And that was why I answered like this.
Yes, or your original motive to study here,
Yeah.
a certain study.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So go back and concentrate on the most essential parts. Why are you doing what you are doing? And that is the same as with this personal strengths. Then you see the aspect that make you move, that make you happy, but also to make you move. And what motivates you.
Okay. Thank you. I was looking at my mobile phone to see if there was another question in the chat, but it's not. So I. Yes, you showed a slide about virtual reality, but you are in the beginning of finding out what you can do with virtual reality.
Yeah.
Do you have some directions in which you can work with virtual reality?
Yeah. So what we do with this people with chronic pain, we use this and we try to inform them better about how chronic pain develops, and what are the possibilities. And because you are in this other world, so you do not have to think about the realistic circumstances that are in your life at this moment. You can be very purely, and it is also a bit playful, and you are fully immersed in this world. And so you can learn some things easier that are more difficult to learn in when your children are around and the telephone is ringing and something like that, right? So it triggers you in a totally different way. And of course, virtual reality is often used in acute pain. So if you have a wound healing, for example, and you have to change your bandage, and that's very painful, then there are many studies who showed that it helps wonderfully because you are distracted, you are in another world. It is better than looking in a film, for example, but because you are more immersed. And we now try to translate this a bit to more chronic pain. And we hope also that we can translate it to other symptoms.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Yes, I think I asked the questions I wanted to ask myself. To come back to something I said earlier, the ritual that I have to think about something which made me happy during the day. What made you happy yesterday?
Yesterday.
Can you tell us about it?
I have to think about what yesterday. Yesterday I prepared this talk.
And that made you happy?
It made me happy because I was very focused.
Yes.
And that is one thing I like very much. Be very focused on one thing.
Yes, so that you forget all what is surrounding you.
To be in a flow.
Yes, yes. I understand that feeling because I have it when I am writing articles or a message I want to put in words. And then you are so focused on finding the right words, the right train of thought, that you forget time.
Yeah.
And then I have to admit, I'm sitting on my chair for 3 or 4 hours and I don't feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. But did you also know this feeling that if you move with your body, so if you walk, for example, that it's easier to think about things?
Yes, because when I'm obstructed in my thoughts, I just go outside and I walk for half an hour and then the thoughts come.
Yeah.
Just by walking around, not thinking about it specifically, but just by walking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And here you also see this physical and this mental combination, right?
Yes, yes. Okay. Christina, thank you very much for your lecture about fertility and for answering my questions and the questions the persons asked in the chat. Thank you for watching our talk, our Studium Generale, and see you next time.
Thank you very much.